Everyone was invited to my sister's housewarming party except me. Mom said, "You don't fit in at such a nice place." I didn't make a scene. But then I posted a photo of my own housewarming party and everything exploded. Well, let's go. So, there I was, sitting at my kitchen counter with my laptop open, ready to post about my housewarming party on social media. Mavely, I'm 30. And 4 months ago, I finally bought my dream house. Not just any house, though. I designed every single detail myself. Modern trends mixed with nature vibes and all the smart tech you could want. It was perfect. Totally made for me. I was typing up the invitation when I decided to scroll through my feed first. Big mistake. There was my sister Celine's post staring right back at me. She's 27, 3 years younger. And there she was posing in front of some apartment I'd never seen before. The caption said something about how guests wouldn't forget her housewarming party next week. And get this, almost every single relative commented saying they'd definitely be there. I just sat there staring at the screen. What the hell? I had no idea she'd bought an apartment. But what really got me was that everyone except me was invited. Then I looked at the date she'd posted for her party. Same exact day as mine. I couldn't help but laugh. The universe had a sick sense of humor. This whole situation reminded me why I'd kept my distance from my family for so long. Growing up, it was always the same story. Celine got everything. If she wanted something I had, Mom and Dad would just take it from me and give it to her. When I tried to speak up, they'd roll their eyes and say I was being jealous and dramatic. The worst was my prom dress situation. I was 17, working at this little cafe after school for almost a year just to save up $950 for this gorgeous dress I'd found. I knew my parents wouldn't spend that kind of money on me. They'd probably drag me to some discount store and grab whatever was on clearance. 2 weeks before prom, I came home exhausted from my shift at the cafe. I walked into the living room and there was Celine, spinning around in my dress. My beautiful, expensive dress that I'd worked my ass off to buy. "Take it off right now," I yelled. Dad chimed in without even looking up from his newspaper. "Your sister has an important performance at music school tonight. She needs to look nice on stage. It's just for a few hours." While they were talking, Celine turned toward me with this smug smile and stuck her tongue out when they weren't looking. I wanted to scream. I was so upset I started crying after they all left. But the real kicker came when Celine got home later that night. She walked into my room like nothing happened and said, "Oh, by the way, I accidentally tore your dress." I just stared at her. Accidentally, right? Lucky for me, my aunt owned a little sewing shop. She was the only family member who ever seemed to give a damn about me. She fixed the tear and even added some rhinestones and flower decorations to make it look different. Nobody at prom ever knew my sister had worn it first. After that whole mess, I couldn't wait to get out. I went to college in another city and never moved back home. Since then, I only saw my parents and Celine at holidays or family events. And even then we barely talked. The funny thing was, they had no clue what I actually did for work. I owned my own interior design company and had been pretty successful for years. But Dad loved telling people I was just some house painter who fixed walls. Meanwhile, they bragged constantly about how Celine worked in an office as an insurance manager. Sitting there looking at her social media post, I decided enough was enough. I picked up my phone and called her. "Hey Celine, saw your post about the housewarming party. Why wasn't I invited?" She didn't even hesitate. "Because I don't want you there, Averly. You're always jealous and starting drama. I don't need that at my party." I hung up and immediately called Mom. "Mom, what's this about Celine having a party and not inviting me?" "Oh honey, it's her party. She can invite whoever she wants. Besides, you probably wouldn't fit in at such a nice place anyway. We'll have her invite you over separately sometime so you can see what a really modern, well-designed apartment looks like." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. If only she knew. After I hung up, I looked at Celine's photos again. The apartment looked expensive, sure, but it was so boring. Just standard designer stuff in bright colors with no personality whatsoever. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Grandma. "Averly, your mother called me. She said you're making a scene about not being invited to your sister's party. She says you've always been a drama queen. Grandma, I'm not making a scene. I'm just standing up for myself. Well, I remember that big fuss you made over that prom dress. That was it. I'd had enough of this family and their selective memory. After I got off the phone with Grandma, I made a decision. I was going to throw the best damn housewarming party anyone had ever seen. And I was only inviting people who actually cared about me. My friends, my work colleagues, and my aunt from the sewing shop. Called my aunt right away. Hey, Aunt Maribel. I'm having a housewarming party next week. Want to come? Of course. I'd love to see your new place. It'll probably be way better than whatever your sister's got planned. Anyway, 3 days later, my phone rang while I was reviewing some design plans for a client. It was Mom and she sounded pissed. Averly, I just found out you bought a house. How come nobody told us? I almost laughed. Well, Mom, when was the last time you asked me about my life? That's not the point. The point is you have no right inviting Maribel to your little party. All the relatives are supposed to go to Celine's housewarming. Says who? Says me. We spent $395,000 on your sister's apartment in a really prestigious neighborhood. I'm going to call Maribel and convince her to skip your little shack. I mean, let's be honest, Averly. How much could you possibly afford? I could have told her right then that my house cost $795,000, but I decided to keep that little detail to myself. Let her find out the hard way. You know what, Mom? I'm not changing my party date, and I'm not uninviting anyone. Averly, you need to reschedule this. You're being selfish. No, I'm really not. And with that I hung up. The next couple of days were pretty quiet. I focused on getting ready for the party, making sure everything looked perfect. My house really was something special. I'd spent months planning every detail. The open floor plan that flowed from the living room to the kitchen, the huge windows that brought in natural light, the smart home system that controlled everything from the lights to the sound system, and the outdoor space. Amazing. I had this covered patio area with built-in seating and a fire pit that looked out over my garden. 2 days before the party, Aunt Maribel called me back. Averly, you're not going to believe this. 5 relatives just called me saying they're not going to Celine's party anymore. They heard about your house and want to see it instead. I couldn't help but grin. Really? Who? Your cousins Landon and Elise, Uncle Drew, Aunt Valerie, and your cousin Naomi. Your mother is furious. She actually sent me a text message telling me to stop stealing relatives for your side. The day of the party finally arrived. I'd invited about 20 people total. My closest friends from college, some colleagues from my design company, and a few family members who actually cared about me. My friend Jackson, who's a professional photographer, showed up early to help me set up. Ave, this place is incredible. Mind if I take some shots during the party? Go for it. I'd love to have some good photos of this place. My friend Emery arrived with her camera equipment too. I'm definitely filming some of this for my interior design blog. My followers are going to lose their minds over your house. As people started arriving, I watched their faces when they walked through the front door. The reactions were priceless. My living room had these huge floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture in warm earth tones, and this amazing accent wall with natural stone. The kitchen had a waterfall edge island and all top-of-the-line appliances. When the relatives who'd switched from Celine's party showed up, their reactions were even better. Aunt Valerie walked in and just stopped dead in her tracks. Averly, I thought you were a house painter. Where'd you get that idea? Your father's been telling everyone for years that you paint walls and fix houses. I shook my head. I've been running my own interior design company for the past 6 years. My cousin Landon was walking around taking everything in. This is insane, Avenue. I still don't understand why your parents always acted like you weren't doing anything important. That's just how they are, I said with a shrug. Uncle Drew was particularly impressed with my smart home setup. How does all this work? I showed him how I could control the lights, music, and temperature all from my phone. Everything's connected. I can even see who's at my front door when I'm not home. This must have cost a fortune, Aunt Valerie said. It was worth every penny. While everyone was mingling and enjoying the party, Jackson was taking professional photos of everything. He got shots of the living room, kitchen, the outdoor patio area, and even some detail shots of my design elements. Emery was filming different sections of the house for her blog, interviewing me about my design choices. So, Averly, tell my viewers about your inspiration for this space, Emery said, pointing the camera at me. I wanted to create something that felt modern but still connected to nature. That's why I used so many natural materials like the stone and wood, but kept the lines clean and simple. The party was going perfectly. People were genuinely impressed, asking tons of questions about the design process, and my relatives kept saying they couldn't believe I'd done all this myself. Around 9 p.m., as things were winding down, Aunt Maribel pulled me aside. Honey, I need to tell you something. Your mother called me 3 times today asking me to leave your party and go to Celine's instead. What did you tell her? I told her I was exactly where I wanted to be. After everyone left, I sat on my couch looking at all the business cards people had given me. 3 potential new clients had approached me during the party after seeing my work. This wasn't just a housewarming. It was turning into the best marketing event I'd ever had. 2 days later, I was scrolling through social media and saw that Celine had posted photos from her party. Her apartment looked exactly like I'd expected. Expensive but completely generic. Gray and beige everything, the kind of stuff you see in every magazine, but with zero personality. Meanwhile, I was getting ready to post Jackson's professional photos of my house. When I finally posted them, the response was immediate. Relatives who hadn't come to my party were commenting left and right about how amazing my house looked. Several people asked if I was planning another party so they could see it in person. I smiled as I read through all the comments, imagining how Mom and Celine must be reacting to seeing all the attention my house was getting. After years of being treated like the family disappointment, it felt pretty good to finally show them what I was really capable of. A couple of days later, I was having my morning coffee when I heard a car pull into my driveway. I looked out the window and couldn't believe what I saw. Mom and Celine were getting out of Mom's sedan, neither of them looking particularly happy. I opened the front door before they could even knock. Well, this is unexpected. What brings you two here? Mom pushed past me without waiting for an invitation. We want to see what all the fuss is about. Celine followed behind her, already looking around with this sour expression on her face. They walked through my entryway into the living room, and I could practically see their moods getting worse with every step. Mom was trying to act unimpressed, but I caught her staring at my kitchen island and the custom lighting fixtures. Celine wasn't even trying to hide how upset she was getting. They walked around for about 10 minutes, going from room to room. I followed behind them, not saying much, just watching their reactions. Every time they saw something new, my walk-in closet, the master bathroom with a rainfall shower, the home office with built-in shelving, their faces got more and more pinched. Finally, we ended up back in the living room. Celine had been quiet the whole time, but suddenly she just lost it. She started crying. Not just regular crying, but full-on sobbing with her hands covering her face. "This isn't fair," she screamed. "This house should be mine. You did this on purpose, Averly. You made your house better than my apartment just to spite me." I stared at her. "Celine, I didn't even know you had an apartment until I saw your social media post. How could I have done this to spite you? You're lying. You always have to be better than me." Mom put her arm around Celine. "Honey, calm down." But Celine was on a roll now. "Mom, I can't live in that apartment anymore. Everyone's going to compare it to this place. You need to buy me somewhere else to live. Somewhere better than this." Mom was patting her back, making those soothing noises you make to calm down a toddler having a meltdown. "Okay, sweetheart. We'll figure something out. Let's just go home for now." She guided Celine toward the door, both of them avoiding eye contact with me. I watched them drive off, shaking my head. Some things never changed. A week later, Jackson called me with some interesting news. "Ave, you remember those photos I took at your housewarming? Well, 3 different interior design magazines want to feature them. They're offering to do full spreads about your house and your design work. I almost dropped my phone. Are you serious? Dead serious. This could be huge for your business. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Within 2 weeks, a film crew from one of those home renovation shows was at my house. They weren't there to renovate anything. They wanted to do a feature story about me and my design process. I showed them before and after photos from when the house was just a basic shell. Explained my design philosophy. Walked them through all my choices. The producer was this energetic woman named Sarah who kept saying things like, "This is exactly the kind of story our viewers love. Someone who creates their dream space from scratch." They filmed for an entire day, getting shots of every room, interviewing me about my background, even talking to some of my clients who agreed to be on camera. Felt surreal. The show aired about a month later. I watched it with Emery and Jackson at my house, and honestly it was weird seeing myself on TV, but the house looked incredible, and they did a great job telling the story of how I'd built my design business from nothing. After that episode aired, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. New clients, interview requests, other design magazines wanting to feature my work. My business went from doing okay to being completely booked for the next 6 months. 2 months after the TV show aired, I got an invitation that made me smile. Grandma was hosting Christmas dinner and wanted the whole family there. The invitation specifically mentioned that she wanted to talk to me about my famous house. Christmas Day arrived and I showed up at Grandma's house, not sure what to expect. Almost the entire extended family was there. Cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone, including Mom, Dad, and Celine, who all looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. As soon as I walked in, Grandma made a beeline for me. "Averly, there's my famous granddaughter." She gave me this huge hug. "I have to apologize to you, honey. I had no idea what you really did for work. Your house is absolutely gorgeous." "Thanks, Grandma. I recorded that TV show about you and I've watched it at least 5 times. I made all my bridge club ladies watch it too." During dinner, all the conversation kept coming back to me and my house and my business. Relatives who'd barely talked to me in years were asking about my design process, wanting to know if I took on small projects, telling me how proud they were of what I'd accomplished. Grandma stood up halfway through dinner and tapped her glass with her spoon. "Everyone, I want to make an announcement. After dinner, we're all going to watch Averly's TV show again." Celine's fork clattered onto her plate. "Grandma, we don't need to watch that again." "Oh, but I want to. I could watch that show every single day. I'm so proud of our Averly." So, after we finished eating, everyone gathered in the living room. Grandma had the show queued up and ready to go. For the next hour, I sat there watching my entire extended family watch me on television, explaining my design choices and showing off every room of my house. When it was over, everyone clapped. Actually clapped like I was putting on some kind of performance. Celine looked like she wanted to disappear into the couch cushions. She wasn't used to not being the center of attention, especially at family gatherings. As people were getting ready to leave, several relatives approached me about potential projects. Uncle Drew wanted me to redesign his home office. Cousin Elise asked about updating her kitchen. Even Aunt Valerie, who'd always been Team Celine, pulled me aside to ask if I did bathroom renovations. Most importantly, Grandma asked if I'd help her redo her living room. "I'd love to, Grandma." "Wonderful. It'll give us a chance to spend more time together." Driving home that night, I couldn't stop smiling. After years of being treated like the family disappointment, I was finally getting the recognition I deserved. And the best part, it had nothing to do with trying to compete with anyone. It was just me doing what I loved and doing it well. 4 months after that Christmas dinner, my life had completely changed. My design company was busier than ever. I had a waiting list of clients that stretched out 8 months, and I'd had to hire 2 additional designers to keep up with demand. The TV show had opened doors I never even knew existed. I was in my home office reviewing plans for a luxury hotel renovation when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Celine's name, which was weird because we hadn't spoken since that awkward visit to my house. "Hey Celine, what's up?" "Hi, Averly. Her voice sounded different. Quieter, less confident than usual. I was wondering if maybe you could help me with something. I've been looking at my apartment lately, and I think it needs some work. The design isn't really me, you know. I was hoping maybe you could help me fix it up. I almost laughed. After months of her acting like my success was some personal attack on her, now she wanted my help. You want me to redesign your apartment? Yeah. I mean, if you're not too busy or anything. I thought about it for a minute. Part of me wanted to say no just because of how she treated me, but another part of me was curious about what had brought her to this point. Celine, I'll do a design consultation for you, but I want to be clear about something. I'll create a design plan and give you all the specifications, but you'll have to handle the actual renovation yourself. I'm booked solid with other projects. That's fine. I just need your help, Averly. There was something in her voice I'd never heard before. It almost sounded like she was admitting I was good at something. We set up an appointment for the following week. When I walked into her apartment, I could see why she wanted changes. It was exactly what I'd thought from her social media photos. Expensive but completely generic. Everything was gray and beige with no personality whatsoever. It looked like a hotel room. So, what don't you like about it? Yes. It's just so boring. When people come over, they don't really say much about it. And after seeing your house, she trailed off. Celine, can I ask you something? Why did you really call me? She was quiet for a long time, walking around her living room like she was seeing it for the first time. Because you're really good at this, she finally said. I spent so long thinking you were just wasting your time with this design stuff, but you weren't. You built something amazing. I wasn't expecting that level of honesty from her. And because I'm tired of competing with you, she continued. I've been doing it our whole lives and it's exhausting. Maybe it's time I stopped. That definitely wasn't what I expected her to say. I spent 2 hours in her apartment taking measurements, asking about her lifestyle and preferences, figuring out what would actually work for her. For the first time in our lives, we had a normal conversation. No drama, no accusations, just two adults talking about design choices. A week later, I delivered a complete design plan to her apartment. I created something totally different from what she had. Warmer colors, more texture, pieces that actually reflected her personality instead of what some magazine said was trendy. This is perfect, she said, looking through all the plans and material samples. How much do I owe you? Nothing. Consider it a peace offering. 6 weeks later, Celine called to tell me she'd finished the renovation. Ave, you have to come see it. It looks incredible. I went over the next day, and honestly, I was impressed with how well she'd executed the design. The apartment looked completely different. Warm, inviting, actually livable instead of looking like a showroom. My friends can't believe it's the same place, she said. Thank you. You did all the work. I just gave you a plan. We were standing in her newly redesigned living room when she said something that really caught me off guard. I owe you an apology, Averly. A big one. For what? For everything. For the prom dress. For not inviting you to my housewarming. For that meltdown in your house. 4 years of treating you like you were trying to take something away from me when you weren't. I didn't know what to say. I think I always knew you weren't really competing with me, she continued. But it was easier to be mad at you than to admit that maybe I wasn't as special as Mom and Dad always told me I was. You worked for everything you have. You saved up for that prom dress. You put yourself through college. You built your business from nothing. And I spent all that time acting like you owed me something. We talked for another hour that day. Really talked. Probably for the first time since we were kids. She told me how overwhelming it had been to always be the favorite. How she'd felt like she had to live up to these expectations that kept getting higher. I told her how isolating it had felt to always be treated like the problem child. Do you think we can start over? She asked as I was getting ready to leave. Yeah, I think we can. These days things are good. My business is thriving. I have a great relationship with Grandma and most of my extended family. And Celine and I actually talk regularly now. We'll never be best friends, but we're finally sisters. Mom and Dad still don't really get what I do for work, but they've stopped actively putting me down, which is progress. And last month, when Grandma showed off her newly redesigned living room at her bridge club, she made sure to tell everyone her granddaughter had done the work. Sometimes I think about that day when I saw Celine's social media post and felt so hurt about not being invited to her party. If that hadn't happened, I might never have thrown my own housewarming, never gotten those professional photos taken, never ended up on that TV show. Funny how the worst moments sometimes lead to the best outcomes.